Snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever else Baker says.
He says a lot of things, but do we believe most of it? I don't.
Sometimes.
That's true.
I have decided I'm in full heifer mode. Bev has pushed me to it. Hank has pushed me to it. I cannot vouch for the safety of things that are going to be spoken out of my mouth.
Yeah. The cat is meowing. I'm hoping it's getting canceled out because he's being very chatty.
We love aminals here. You know that. They'd rather have Thor and Thor watching the trial. I don't know why I haven't thought of that. Cat watches trial. I'd be a genius. Yeah. No one steal that. I'm going to get GoPro.
So I didn't really get to check out X on, what everybody's thinking, but.
So you have Runkle being very upset. There are a couple of lawyers that I do respect. I think, possibly, don't quote me, Defense Diaries was saying that this is something that does happen, but, there was a curative instruction. So I was a little shocked by that from them. And again, don't quote me on that because I was doing a quick, check Rumble, try to do the Baker thing and look at Twitter. And thank you, Heather May. I had so much fun. It was so much fun, and I can't wait. I'm counting down the days till next time because, y'all, I did the math. I know it was shocking for me. That was the first kid-free vacation I've had in 19 years.
That's crazy.
Because I was doing the math, and I was like, no, I've always had a kid with me, at least 1 or 5.
Did you enjoy the drive?
I will say it was nice to just find an old trial and kind of get lost in that. I did try to listen to Hank, but between trying to remember to stay far back from truckers, so if you see their mirrors, they can see you, and dealing with a-holes who want to merge 5 seconds before the road ends.
Mm-hmm.
I was in no way, I was like, I will speed and run over someone if I have to listen to Hank. So I went back to, I think, the Chandler Halderson case.
Yeah. It's it was hard to listen to the first time through. I don't think I could listen to it again. But yeah, especially in the car. I think I would road rage, to be honest with you. I would
Yeah, I
probably be
tried. And I was
on
just
T
like, well, that and I don't have my notes. And for some reason, listening to a trial I'm actually covering without being able to take my notes, I feel like I'm not doing a really good job because I'm easily distracted.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a good thing. You would have wound up on the news too.
Yeah, I
Um,
will say, no offense to Dollywood, but kind of another equally great day was I went out and I bought like a donut and then I went back to my room and I did nothing but watch My Name is Earl.
oh, that sounds good.
I know, I felt bad. I was like, is it bad that I like this just as much as Dollywood?
No mom shame. Uh, so Betterow made a good point that another point on the intentional misconduct is the prosecution team had knowledge, as in Lally and McLaughlin must have known or should have known in
Well,
addition to Brennan. So this was like a group.
Well, and this was strategic. I mean, they put the plexiglass shirt there. So,
Hmm.
again, this was something they had foreknowledge. This wasn't like, oops, my bad. I mean, again, it was strategic. And Alessi pointed it out really well that they purposely didn't add the rear facing pictures of the hoodie. So, this was planned even back when they were in their case in chief.
Hmm. Yeah, I think. I mean, I hate to do like all the conspiracy spirals and all that, but come on. I mean, sometimes you gotta add two and two
Well,
together and get
yeah,
four.
this was strategic. I mean, this
Yeah.
this had a strategic, logical thing. They knew in advance that they were going to say, "Well, you didn't look at the back of the hoodie, did you?"
Yeah, they were planning to do that. And and he can't just say like, "Oh, I made a mistake and I didn't know." Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, well, if he had just parachuted into this case, say he had done a Sarah Boone and whatever her lawyer F face, I can't remember him, Weasel Boy. If
It
he
was
had
like
just
Wigs or
parachuted into
something?
I
Wags?
think it was Lewis
I
something.
don't know.
But
Oh,
if he
I'm
had
thinking
just
of
parachuted
McKeever.
into this case, but the fact is he's been paid, look, maybe he's worth 30 or 300K, but he has been paid enough to have basically made this his life for the last however long he's been hired for. And
Mhm.
the fact that this was a strategic thing, again, is not a good look. And Bev did her best to water this all down, and that pisses me off too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that instruction was horse poo. Like,
Well,
that was
that
like
and it,
a blip.
Well, she tried to make it more horse poo. She was trying
Mhm.
to say, you can't draw any inferences. They can't because your guy messed up. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake.
What the heck?
All right.
My uncle Valhalla used to be quadriplegic, then he had a stroke, and now we don't know what to call him. I don't know.
I
Yes,
would stay
that's what I
still
wanted to say, but
Valhalla.
it's early.
You know,
Maybe
just
doesn't.
because he
Maybe you
can't
wouldn't
say
let
it.
him hand you the beer when you're shotgunning it because it would shake. But I mean,
I would have a custom built beer bong built into my chair. So,
I like that
Hmm.
forward thinking. That's a
mm-hmm,
good idea.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he should have been admonished a little bit.
Yeah, she admonished Jackson for less, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So someone pointed out on X, and I didn't notice it at the time, but Bev basically did the curative instruction and then went on to say, I know your lunches are here, but Jackson or Yannetti, let's get this person on. So
Yeah.
again, basically telling the jurors, yeah, I know your food's getting cold, but he wants to go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I didn't catch that either, but that Wouldn't surprise me if she did. I was thinking about that the other day. She's been the whole trial so far. She's been saying how awesome it's running and how they're on track and ahead of schedule and yada, yada, yada. Well, now if anything goes wrong, it's going to be because the defense, right? Like I almost wonder if she did it intentionally.
She did admonish them. I don't know. All right. They were just talking in court and now they're not.
So what do we think that she's going to do with this particular witness? I think that the witness has plenty of experience. Again, it would be like you or I saying, hey, we know how to speak English. It's something that's assumed in the knowledge that you would have in everyday life. So for her, she's not going to put or know the alphabet. It's the same thing. If I put that on LinkedIn, that wouldn't mean anything because it's kind of understood I should have this knowledge. She's basically said a gajillion and 12 times that this is a basic part of medical examinership. It's not like a special certification or anything.
Yeah.
I don't think she'll deny it. I don't think she will. I don't think she can.
She's going to just limit this stuff because Brennan keeps going on about this biomechanical stuff. And it's like, she's not testifying to any of that. And then he wants to try to hone in on you don't know dog specific. No one does. It's not a specific thing. Well, somebody just specializes in dog bites.
She's not claiming to be a biomechanical person. She's just within her scope. Medical examiners do this all the time. They'll say, oh, it looks like he had an impact to his leg, or there's a gunshot wound with a trajectory up and, over. It's not because they're detectives, it's because they're following the clues and reading all the reports.
Yeah.
Right.
And usually, in this instance, we don't know what happened. Most of the time, they kind of know what happened. Oh, we know that guy was hit by a car. Oh, we know that guy was bit by a dog. But it's normally not the cause of death, as she said. So, but.
And Sebastian, thank you. Everyone else hate it when Bev says your rights have been saved. Who is she trying to fool? How can you not tell me she is with the state? That's something they say to say that they've preserved the record, whatever. I let you have your piece. Now move along. Basically, she's just saying, I let you put it on the record for appeals. Go take it up with them.
Okay, and I looked up a writ of mandamus because someone was asking what that is, and it is a judicial remedy in English and American common law consisting of a court order that demands a government official or entity perform an act that is legally required to perform as part of its official duties or refrain from performing that act if the law prohibits it from doing. So basically, they say, no, this isn't constitutional, and that's the ruling, I think. Again, consult your local YouTube lawyer. I am not one of them.
Isn't that just like an appeal, interlocutory?
I believe it's
along the same lines. I'm not
appeal.
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm not
Look,
sure what the
we're not
differences are.
legalologists.
No, we're not.
We are just people who like to be on the YouTubes and watch I try to explain what I did to the guy at Buc-ee's, and he's like, "Are you like Bailey Sarian?" And I was like, no, I don't put on that much makeup or spend an hour doing it. But she's cool.
Who?
Here, AI helps. A writ of mandamus, is that how you say it? And an interlocutory appeal are both legal mechanisms for seeking review of a court's decision before the case is fully concluded. But they serve different purposes and have different requirements. A mandamus is an extraordinary remedy used to compel a lower court to perform a mandatory duty or correct a clear abuse of discretion, while an interlocutory appeal allows for review of a certain non-final orders, often with permission from the court. Oh, so it's basically arguing, and she doesn't say it's okay to argue with her.
The writ of mandamus, we saw it last in the Delphi case when the judge removed the defense. There was a writ of mandamus that went to the Supreme Court that basically said she acted outside of her bounds.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Brandon. Bev has been obsessed with ending trial at a certain date since day one. She got a vacation or beer fest planned retirement, so D gets screwed on an argument. Yep. Now you forget your second point. Well, I'm sure it'll come to you at a great time. Writ of man's I don't know. I don't think they're gonna do anything about it from here, but it'll all come out on an appeal. All of that stuff costs money to file, so.
Well, just like in the Delphi case, they're working on, I think, volume 3, and it still isn't done, the transcript. And that's the first thing you need for an appellate case is the transcript of the court, all of everything. David Nielsen, it's a writ of Matt Damon. Matt Damon. Oh my gosh, I need to go watch Team America again. It'll help my soul after today.
Unfortunately, this is what they do, is they send them to jail and make them, figure it out from there and how to pay for it. I don't think it makes any sense, but.
No.
Not that
At
long.
least.
3 to 5 years?
What are you talking about? For an appeal after, if she gets found guilty? Yeah, it'd be longer than that, probably.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Commonwealth would slow walk the transcript and everything else in discovery.
Yeah, no urgency.
Well, back to session, you may be seated.
All right, I appreciate the court personnel waiting so that we could have that voir dire. It was helpful. All right, so my rulings are very similar that they were this morning. So first of all, on the Daubert analysis regarding Dr. LaPasada being able to testify as to the dog bite wounds, I find that she is not qualified. I'm not satisfied that the Daubert requirements have been made.
Get out.
Specifically, not just the experience, but the reliability of the methodology she used and how it was applied. So based on that, she cannot testify to the dog wounds. And I want to take a minute to differentiate this testimony with Dr. Russell's. I found that Dr. Russell was an expert, qualified to testify as to dog bite wounds, mainly from her experience in the ER, coupled with her being an ME. Dr. LaPasada does not have that experience. I found that Dr. Russell's methodology was reasonable and was sufficient, and I found that it was appropriately applied. Remember that Dr. Russell was published in the area here. So regarding pages 10 and 11, all of the text on Dr. LaPasada's report on pages 10 and 11 that start with the injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm are excluded. Now moving on to the testimony regarding not being consistent with a motor vehicle strike. I find that Dr. LaPasada's opinion on these not being the result of a motor vehicle collision exceed what is within her scope of expertise in some regards, not in all. In some regards, significantly, like I said this morning. So on page 17, that first sentence is in. The second sentence, tail lights are typically made of durable polycarbonate or acrylic plastic. That is out. I know the Commonwealth objected to, but I'm letting in. Mr. O'Keefe's patterned injuries on his right arm do not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by irregular fractured plastic pieces impacting the arm. She cannot say tail light, but she can say that based on her experience. His arm had no tissue bruising from impact. That also comes in. And the next sentence, neither did his skin show any array of irregular, unpredictable, randomly scattered cuts and scrapes at various angles and depths. That's within her realm of expertise as a medical examiner. The next page, though, I may have said this morning that first sentence, importantly, in review of that and review of the Tompkins case, that first sentence stays out, because to me, it seems like that sentence depends on a biomechanical analysis, factors such as speed and force and the position of Mr. O'Keefe. So that's, oh, I'm sorry, page 18, the next page regarding the same subject matter. And portion of the next sentence is also
She said
out. This
50 and
results in
supervised
bruising or
another
bleeding under
75.
the skin. That's out. But Dr. Laposada can testify that Mr. O'Keefe had no bruising on his arms or torso. And that's it for that sentence. In particular, Mr. O'Keefe did not have bruises on his legs as shown by dissection of leg tissue and muscle at autopsy. That's it for that. And the conclusions are problematic to the extent that is consistent with this ruling and what we discussed on Friday. So that's it. That was just the text of her report. I have not begun to go through all of the, there's no PowerPoint with this, Mr. Jackson, right?
There is no PowerPoint.
All right. Do you intend on displaying any of these photographs?
I'm sorry?
Do you intend on displaying any of the photographs that are in her report?
Yes. I have to go through it now, of course.
All right, so you likely not get to that today. We've done important work, but we've wasted an awful lot of the jurors' time today.
screw
So I
you,
want to
Beth.
bring them in. And,
You always waste time.
We have to finish with that anyways.
right,
I'm
we're going
sorry
to do
to
that
ask
now.
for
So that'll give you an
mistrial.
opportunity to pull your
Dang.
thoughts together.
Right, and I
How
expect
to
my intention. I will go through her position. That will take me a good amount of time. I will go through the part of her initial analysis that will not include any of the photos, but I may need overnight to actually go through the court's ruling. It's very specific, and I want to be as
Okay, so
that as possible.
let me know what you intend to put in. All right, and there's a lot of text describing the photos that is out, right? It's just hearsay.
I mean, we've had Dr. Welch's PowerPoint.
That was not objected to. There's a big difference.
Yes, it was objected to.
So
It was.
So we'll deal with this tomorrow, with the photographs tomorrow.
Bev, do you ever do anything at the
Okay,
time?
thank you. And we're bringing the jurors in. Did the Commonwealth want to respond in any way?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
And there's a motion on Dr. Rentschler. We will give that, I haven't read it yet. We'll give that no more than 5 minutes tomorrow morning each side. This jury, you can tell just by looking at this jury, they're fed up. So,
Yeah, with you.
No, with Hank.
The only thing I want to put on record is,
My shock.
with regards to the court's ruling, I do want the record to reflect.
That's amazing that she just said that too.
It's over the defense
You
objection.
can tell
Sure.
by,
And I just want to make for the record a quick comment. The Commonwealth waited until June 5th to even bring this up, to file a motion regarding Dr. Laposada. They had a report, and all reciprocal discovery was done in March 6th, 2025. That's document number 485.
yeah.
And the Commonwealth was ordered to file whatever motions they wanted to, whatever motions in limine they thought were appropriate by March 7th.
It's not going
And
to
they did
change
not
here.
do that. They were supposed to be
For
heard on
appeal.
March 18th.
Okay, so the jurors are coming in. We're going to mark the report
Okay.
and the CV
she didn't even let him
for
finish his
identification.
statement.
I just need to know what point I can make.
You
You
just
gotta
made
put it
it.
on the record, Bev, and you know that, and you're intentionally
Okay.
not.
Gosh.
Okay,
The point is,
go ahead, real quick.
the Commonwealth has not explained the delay
So,
in making this motion. They haven't, and we're playing by the same rules, Judge.
so the basis of my ruling was not late disclosure. Okay? Late disclosure, disclosure. Commonwealth says they're part.
That's not the court's missing the point. It's the opposite. We got late disclosure. We got late disclosure that they were objecting. They've had since March to object. They blew the motion in limine time, and then they come in just before Dr.
All right.
Laposada testifies, and now they're sort of sandbagging this and making the court moves against us. So I want to make sure that the record is imminently clear about it.
Very clear. Mr. Brennan, do you want to respond real quickly?
Your Honor, we can always object even during proffering of testimony if there's no foundation, it's a foundational issue.
And that's consistent with what my rulings were when I allowed other witnesses to testify that the defense could object if the foundation weren't properly laid. So, bring them in, please.
Bev commenting on the jury doesn't seem professional.
That's what I was
No.
saying. I've never heard a judge say that before, I don't think. You can tell by looking at this jury that they're fed up, is what she said.
The closest was that pregnant pause guy, and he was more just pissed off the jury or the lawyers were wasting time. But a personal comment that she's watching the jury and they're done, that I know it's outside of the purview of the jury, but she's off her game today. I think they really got spooked with the mistrial with prejudice.
I don't think that bothered her.
I think she was mad about it.
Please be seated.
She was mad she had to waste time on it.
Jurors, you have been extraordinarily patient with us today. We're going to go straight through until 4 o'clock, and we're going to make every effort to not leave you waiting out there as long as you have.
Why?
Today. All right, Ms. Giannetti, is your witness ready?
This is
Tell
not
them to
their
come
life
late
on the
tomorrow.
line.
Unbelievable. She talked up the Commonwealth the entire case, even when they took days off.
Yeah.
Now during the defense's case, she's, oh, I'm sorry, we're wasting so much time of yours, dear jury. It's a different side of the case now. We've got different
All right,
people in
Mr.
charge.
Pedman,
of this
whenever you're
part.
ready, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, before the lunch break, you had identified 3 entrances to the front of 34 Fairview, leaving aside the 2 garage car doors. Do you recall that?
Yes.
May I have that last exhibit displayed, please? Not that one, the one that we discussed right before court. There it is. Maybe zoom in on that a little. Okay. What do you see on the screen at this point, sir?
I see the 2 rightmost entrances to the house, excluding the main front door.
Okay, which would be obviously to the left
To
of
the
this
left.
photo, particularly with regard to the 3rd entrance, the one in red. Could you describe that?
Yes, so it's if you're facing the house from the street, you're looking towards the west. So that door goes directly into the garage facing north.
Okay, so basically from the street, you don't have to enter the house, you can go into the garage directly.
That is directly into the garage, yes.
All right, and as we're looking at the house from this point, are we looking at it from the vantage point of Fairview Road?
Yes,
And that is a westerly direction toward the house, sir?
correct.
In the course of doing your further work that you were asked to do in this case, did you peer inside the garage?
Yes, I did.
Did you see concrete steps and a ridge there and a hard concrete floor?
Yes.
Sustain. Jurors, disregard that answer.
Jurors,
You mentioned
concrete
that
isn't
you were
hard.
asked to do some measurements. Can you describe what you were asked to do for the jury?
Yes, I was asked to measure from basically the mailbox area of the driveway to the various entrances to the house.
Did you take those measurements?
I did.
Okay, if I'd like to take them one at a time. First, did you measure from the end of the driveway next to the mailbox all the way to the main front door, which is not depicted on this photo?
Yes, I did.
How did you measure it?
I used my wheeled measuring device, and I walked directly across the lawn to the front door, well, to the bottom of the front steps, and then used it to go up the front steps straight to the door.
And what was the measurement, if you recall, from the mailbox area near the end of the driveway to the main front door on the left?
I believe it was 65 feet 9 inches, but I have notes if I might.
I think you got it right, sir.
Okay.
Next, did you measure from that same location near the street, the end of the driveway next to the mailbox, to the second front door, which is actually depicted in the exhibit that's on the screen?
I did.
And how did you measure that?
I walked along the edge of the driveway on the asphalt, right next to the grass, towards the house from the mailbox and the edge of the street, towards the house. I took a left onto the brick walkway, proceeded along that walkway, then took a right to the walkway that you can see right there, heading directly to the door, and went up onto the little decking area, and then those 2 steps directly to the doorstep.
Okay, so you walked essentially almost the whole length of the driveway
Yes,
before you took the left to get to where the steps start, going to that second front door,
yes,
and then went up to the door itself.
yes.
Do you recall from your memory what the measurement was?
I believe it was 70 feet 1 inch.
And finally, did you measure from that same end of the driveway near the street next to the mailbox to the red side door, which is the pedestrian entrance into the garage directly?
I did.
How did you measure that?
I did the same thing, walking directly from where the mailbox and the driveway intersect, basically, all the way up the driveway, took the same left onto the red brick pathway, took a right to go towards the front door, went up the 1 step that you can see, and then instead of going up the next 2 steps, I took a right directly towards the garage entry door.
So essentially the same path of travel, it's just you didn't go straight into the second front door. You took a right to go into the pedestrian entrance to the garage.
Correct.
And what was the measurement that you discovered having done that?
I believe it was 78 feet 3 inches.
Now, finally, could we have displayed the map of Cedar Crest, Fairview, and Chapman? There it is. Sir, are you able to see the street names from where you are? And if
Yes.
not, could we have the top street magnified so that the witness can see it? Okay, you see that?
I do.
What do you see that to be?
Cedar Crest Road.
Okay, if we could have the connecting street where the, that's it.
Fairview Road.
All right, and finally, the one down the bottom?
Chapman Street.
Okay, if we can get the whole map back up. Having seen those 3 street names, does that orient you as to what this is a map of?
It does.
And what is that?
This is the surrounding area of 34 Fairview Road, the neighborhood, basically.
Okay, and it includes the 2 connecting streets on either end?
Correct.
Does the red dot symbolize anything for you?
It looks to be where 34 Fairview Road is located.
Okay, and if you're on Fairview Road to the right of that red dot as it exists on that exhibit, and you're looking toward Fairview Road, what direction would you be facing?
It'd be facing west.
If I may have a moment, Rick?
Okay.
This is actually pretty helpful. So that we know, like, the measurement.
Thank you.
Of the house.
Well, so my question only when he's doing these measurements, all the testimony we have from witnesses, reliable or not, is that the car moved a bit or moved forward. Sorry, I'm construction, but so the multiple measurements I think might be necessary. I know he went just with the driveway, but then Brennan's going to say, well, didn't the car move up and didn't it move up and
Well, I think it's
how many feet?
to tell how far John would walk,
Okay.
right? 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was getting out of it, right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I was thinking, oh, that's how long it takes to get from the curb to the house, which is, you know.
Good to see you're back, Baker.
Almost back anyway.
Yeah. Hi, Brandon. Thank you for the super chat. I know you can't do it, but have you ever want to kick someone in the runt and set up the pending uppercut? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ward
How else do you
chipping.
think we get through the day? I made a personified wood chipper. I mean, honestly, it's
It's
not
my
the most
go-to move.
maladaptive.
It's my first move in the fight. Right.
Yeah, I think I'm beyond being able to rant at this point. I'm just so stunned. Like I'm speechless.
I can't believe that woman isn't qualified. I can't
I'm-
believe it.
That's
About
there is basically no one that can talk about it.
according to Bev.
Yeah.
Like, I would like her to tell me then who would be qualified. What would they have to? What qualifications would they have to have?
I mean, would he have to be Caesar Milan and Dr. House? I'm just asking for a friend because, again, this is a very niche thing. People do not see it. The fact that she's seen, up to 50 bodies with dog bite wounds, even if they weren't the cause of death, I would think would make you an expertologist.
I mean, does she have anything to add then? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I
Nothing
think
of-
she might be able to opine that it would be unlikely that hitting the semi-soft ground would hurt his head. I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
Well, it was like she was going to talk about like the injuries not being from a car accident, I believe. But
Now,
Right, but can only say plastic, which it's not even plastic, and
can't say
a tail
feel
light.
like plastic. She can say plastic.
that is so dumb. Everyone knows where the plastic came from. It's not like the jury has virgin ears. Gee.
Pretty much.
You got to protect the Commonwealth, man. Make sure they're
It's
having
pretty
a fair
unbelievable.
trial.
Yeah,
It's not
and
about the defendant. It's about the Commonwealth.
yeah, make sure the Commonwealth has a fair trial. Ridiculous. Anyway,
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You had a wheel to measure,
Correct.
and so there's like a tape measure, and when you wheel it out, it gives a straight line?
No, it's two wheels with a meter in between them, and you roll it out in front of you.
I see. Your first measurement was from the driveway to the front door,
To the main front door to the far left, yes.
and that was about 63 feet?
I believe it was 65 feet, something like that. I have
65?
my notes, yes.
So suffice to say, if you were to leave the front door and come back to that spot, it would be an additional 65 feet back, right?
Yes,
The second measurement was from the bottom of the driveway to the middle door on the side?
yeah, the second front door, yes.
Did you say that was about 70 feet?
It was, yes.
Okay. And again, if you were to come back, that would be an additional 70 feet?
It would.
And the last one was the door near the garage. Did you say that was further, around 80 feet?
78 feet, 3 inches, I believe.
Is it one way?
Correct,
And back is another 78 feet?
correct.
When you measured these, was it from the asphalt of the driveway or to the left of the mailbox as you're looking at Fairview?
It was to the right of the mailbox on the asphalt, as close to the mailbox as I could get.
Did you happen to take any measurements from the flagpole to the front door as far as distance?
I did.
And what was that?
I do not have the exact measurement. I'm not sure.
Do you have it in a report that you can look at?
I don't. No, not with me.
How about the flagpole to the middle door on the side? Did you take any measurements of that?
I'm not sure I took that one.
How about the flagpole to the furthest away door, which would be the door next to the garage?
See, this is where the
Did you
defense
measure
kills
I think I
me.
took a direct.
But
Get
why
in front
wouldn't
of
you
the mic.
measure it if you're the private investigator? You're the defense. You know these questions are going to be asked, and he didn't do it. But you knew Hank was going to come in, and it's going to make you look like you, again, what we accused Welcher of doing, cherry-picking facts to, fit your narrative.
right, but
Possibly, but also maybe they did it for a specific purpose, which we
Well,
don't.
yeah, I'm trying to
You know what I
just
mean?
give
But I get ya.
an open view, and it does bother me that he didn't, take these other measurements, because I would be type A and I would anticipate all of this stuff. But he is proving he's a Fed because he forgot to look at important stuff. So credentials approved.
to be fair, this guy probably doesn't even have all the details of the case. He was
Well,
sent out to
I think he was parachuted in at the last minute.
right.
Yeah.
But still, again, my biggest fear is looking like a jackass on stand. I'm going to take all the measurements.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not
Why didn't the
sure.
You are
Commonwealth
right.
take the measurements?
Because they're functionally alcoholic.
Because
Well,
they didn't
that's what
want to
I'm
know the
saying.
answer.
Well, yeah,
Well,
Marissa, exactly. Like, it's just like so stupid because he'll be up there and be like, well, you didn't do this. Well, you didn't either. I hate that argument because it feels so petty. It's like, well, you didn't either.
Yeah, it's so
And I have to say that all
whataboutism,
the
but
time.
there is a point at which whataboutism, I think, has a solid basis when, again, the state is constantly saying they didn't do X, Y, and Z, and they didn't, prove X, Y, and Z. It's a burden shift, and it's becoming really prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And thank you, Brandon. Marissa, what is brown and sticky? A stick. And my Uncle Pedro. Thank you for that. And yeah, Baker's right. If he did, then Hank would say he didn't know the facts and just measured everything. Like, why did you measure this and why did you measure that? He'd have to have like a reason for
Yeah,
it. And his reason can't be because
fair
you
point. It's
are a
darned if
big,
you
fat,
do, darned
whiny.
if you don't.
That's
I'm
what
just-
it is with Brennan. You're damned if
I'm
you
just
do,
irritated with Brennan, and dear God, is it bad that I hope the voir dire of La Posada takes the rest of the day because I cannot
We
deal
just did
with
it.
any more Brennan? That was a voir dire when they.
Yeah. You mean
Oh,
So
I
after
don't think
him
they're going to
is-
do it. I don't think they're going to even bring her. I would almost bet.
So then would we just go with Rentschler?
Well, definitely going to
Probably.
go with Rachel. I thought he'd be way before her, so I don't even know. I
I
hope she
think
was
you're-
local
might be-
and she just came in. She doesn't like sitting there all day.
Well, depending on what body mechanics are actually involved, he might be the final one because he can say, "Oh, you would, break your elbow, break your phalanges, break all of these bones." So he might be the one that they want to end on. I don't know.
Yeah. Ugh.
Measurement to that, yes.
Right, and what was that number?
I don't know.
Do you have a report you can share with us?
I
That
don't.
number?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's okay.
give
Did
me.
you ever measure if you were at the
Right.
flagpole area, how long it would take to walk up the street? Or how far it would be to walk up the street, up the driveway to any of those doors? Did you ever measure it that way?
I did.
And what was the distance if you were going to start at the flagpole, walk up the street, up the driveway, down the walkway to the front door?
I'm not sure that distance. Not positive the distance.
Was it over 80 feet?
It was.
And if you did the same route up the street, up the driveway, to the middle door, would you agree that would be well over 80 feet as well?
Can you repeat the question? How?
Sure, if you were to measure from the flagpole, up the street, up the driveway, to the middle door, that would be well over 80 feet?
Yes.
Same to the door next to the garage?
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, enough for
All right, you are all set, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you for the super chat, Bad Duck. What's brown and sticky? Less goes under ruse. You know what? Spray and wash will help with that. Not telling y'all how I know that, but 6 children. I'm just saying.
You get some
Power
skitters.
Yeah, there were some sharts.
Oh, God.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would ask the court to ask Dr. Elizabeth Lopez-Sala to join us.
Okay.
Yeah. I now owe the pot another $5.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Though.
I would have just left it out because he's just going to be an a-hole.
Yeah, but at a certain point, your calculus can't include how Hank's going to be a douche.
You told me so the evidence should get reported during the case and everything.
He's got some good information about
I do. Good afternoon, Doctor. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Well, and I will say the defense did a really good job finding grandmotherly,
May I inquire?
matronly
Yes, yeah,
women.
Dr. Lopez had a
Because Hank looks like a total dick when he goes after them.
Yeah, but he'll still do it because he can't read the
Oh,
room.
he will.
By the way, I was
you have sense of reading the room.
I was looking at the other other feeds during the break while I was eating, and like the different I think law and crime had a view of Brennan when a lot of the time when Dr. Wolf was answering, and he didn't even look at him. He was like not paying attention. Yeah.
He knew he
body
wasn't going to
language
get the answer
off.
that he wanted.
And Thank you, Brandon. Anyone else remember lying awake at night for Santa to come and then awkward silence afterwards when Bad Dog got dressed and left? Yeah.
Big spoon or little spoon, Brandon?
May I inquire?
Yes, and Dr. Lopezada, please speak right into that microphone, okay?
will.
Thank
Oh
you.
God, no, not
Don't
the
eat
breathing
it.
Doctor, can you
sounds.
please state your full name and spell your last name for the jurors?
Yes, Dr. Elizabeth Lopesada, spelled L-A-P-O-S-A-T-A.
I'm going to ask you, you have a softer voice. I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone right under your chin if you don't mind. It's pretty adjustable.
Better?
That's better.
Okay.
That's better.
Why don't they make a longer
Doctor, can you
arm?
tell
They have to
the
sit
jurors
back
what
and
you
the
do for a
chairs
living?
move.
Yes, I'm a medical doctor and I subspecialize in forensic pathology.
Can you summarize your professional background?
Certainly, I graduated in 1975 from Bucknell University with a Bachelor of Science in Biology. I went to University of Maryland School of Medicine, where I graduated in 1979 with a Doctor of Medicine. I did my internship and fellowship at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, where I studied anatomic pathology, which is the study of the diseases of the body. I then did my subspecialty fellowship in St. Louis in forensic pathology, which is understanding causes of death and injuries to the body.
Currently, are you a professor?
Yes, I am.
And tell us where you work.
I own my own independent consulting practice, and I'm also an associate professor at Brown University School of Medicine.
How long have you taught at Brown University School of Medicine?
Since 1993.
And how long have you been a clinical associate professor of pathology either at Brown or before that?
Oh, gee, then that would have been since at least in the late 80s. I've been associate professors at the universities and medical schools where I've worked.
Doctor, at Brown University, let's take Brown first. What do you teach there?
I teach the second year medical students. I teach a lecture in diseases of the heart, cardiomyopathy, and myocarditis. And I've been asked to give some specialized lectures in toxicology and forensic pathology.
Are you responsible for training medical students in the field of forensic pathology?
When I was a chief medical examiner, yes, we would have medical students, residents, come into the office so they could learn about what we do to understand cause and circumstances of death.
When you first got your medical license, did you then undertake to get certain board certifications and the like?
Yes.
Before we get to those board certifications, did you begin a practice in forensic pathology in some way or another?
After I finished my
I feel like this lady just had to run up all the steps and
Her breathing is scary. It's so gaspy. I keep waiting. I'm like counting her respirations. I'm like, is she going to fall out? Also,
Yeah,
I don't like breathing sounds.
She wasn't like this earlier, so I don't know.
Right.
I could only imagine what I sound like on a microphone up close. Probably like a loud.
Yeah, to be fair,
I
Canon
get
Daddy
nervous
was
when I'm on
whistling through his
here
nose
because I'm
too.
like, am I breathing too much? Like,
I was gonna say, what are you talking about? You're in front of a mic all the time.
You know, I will say I had a little bit of nerves going back to Morning with Mo because it's like you get out of a rhythm and then you're like, oh my gosh, am I just weird and people suffer through me, or am I have an existential crisis on Monday at 4 o'clock in the morning.
That was your takeaway from Dollywood? Maybe I'm just weird and people endure me.
Bev just farted White Claw and she's trying to survive.
Yikes.
Ew. That's why her hair's so volumey. It wants to get away.
Could be.
Medical school and my anatomic fellowships and forensic pathology fellowships. Then I was working in medical examiners' offices where I was examining deceased people to understand how they died.
When you get a medical license, is that statewide or is it nationwide?
Usually you get a state medical license.
And do you hold a state medical license?
Yes.
How many?
I have an active medical license in Rhode Island where I have my consulting practice, and I have inactive license in Maryland, Delaware, Missouri, Pennsylvania.
And you've been previously, at least before they were inactive, you were licensed in all 5 of those states?
Yes.
You already told us a little bit about your college. Did you mention Bucknell University? Your Bachelor of Science degree?
I think I did, yes.
Good school.
At some point after you graduated from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, did you complete any residencies?
Yes, I did my residency at, excuse me, at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore in anatomic pathology.
Forensic pathology is different from anatomic pathology, correct?
Yes.
Did you also do any kind of residency in forensic pathology?
Yes, I did a fellowship in forensic pathology.
And what is the difference between, if you can sort of take us through that little by little, what is the difference between forensic pathology and anatomic pathology?
Anatomic pathology is sort of hospital-based pathology where we understand diseases of patients who are in the hospital and try to make clinical pathologic correlations to see if their diagnoses were correct, if the laboratory tests actually showed what we find at postmortem. And then forensic pathology deals more with understanding why the body stops functioning at a particular time. So that would be cause of death, and that can be sudden unexpected death or death due to violence.
And in forensic pathology, is that often associated with testimony in court cases that may deal with either on the civil side or the criminal side, coming in and testifying about things like cause of death and manner of death?
Yes.
What types of cases did you work on during your forensic pathology residency?
Oh, sudden unexpected natural death, gunshot wounds, knife wounds, sudden infant deaths, blunt force trauma, skeletonized remains, decomposed bodies, strangulation, the whole gamut of ways people can die unnaturally.
And what type, to contrast that, what types of cases did
And thank you, Doctor, for the demonetization of today's afternoon stream.
you work on during your anatomic pathology
And then we
residency?
can try to appeal it
There
and then
you're
say,
mainly
nah.
dealing with natural diseases and understanding heart disease or how somebody gets
say?
pneumonia, or looking at the
What?
What'd she say?
All the different ways you can die and how she does forensic pathology on it.
brain to understand if a stroke was present, and that's especially important then to the doctors who are treating those patients, that they can see if the diagnostic tests were appropriate or if their treatments worked.
You mentioned fellowship a little earlier in your testimony. What is a fellowship?
A fellowship is after you've done your internship and residency. A fellowship is more specialized training, and I did that in forensic pathology.
So that answers my next question. You do hold a postgraduate fellowship position, correct?
Yes, yes.
And that was in forensic pathology specifically?
I'm board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology.
Were you a research associate at the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine at University of Pennsylvania School of Law?
Yes.
I'm sorry, School of Medicine?
Yes.
Old habits. What about postdoctoral research fellow? Were you ever a postdoctoral research fellow?
Yes, I did. I had an NIH research grant where I worked on, excuse me, how alcohol affects the heart.
Where was that?
That was at St. Louis University, and then when I was on staff at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia.
What about postdoctoral research fellow at dealing with the cardiovascular division of the Department of Medicine at Washington University?
Yes, that's where I did research on how alcohol affects the heart.
Was all this in furtherance of your broad education and training as a pathologist?
Yes.
I think you.
Tammy says, "You degenerates in your gross chat, lol."
I wish he sounded more authoritative. It's kind of the same vocal quality that Miss Little has, that they could be making a great argument, have a great point, but because of the shakiness of her voice, and I'm not a doctorologist, I don't know what she's got, but she does have a weird breathing pattern, and she doesn't sound as sure of herself.
Yeah. She does sound like she's going to keel over.
Indicated that you have served as a chief medical examiner in answering one of the previous questions. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, I was appointed chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island in 1993, where I was responsible for all unexpected, unnatural deaths or deaths that involve violence in the state of Rhode Island. So I had to supervise the office, made sure I have adequate staff, made sure my forensic pathology staff were doing a good job, made sure I had an adequate scene investigative staff. So running the whole office.
Is that the highest appointment in the OCME's office?
Yes, it is.
In that position, did you oversee every single medical examiner in the state of Rhode Island?
Yes.
Did you also hold a position as a co-chair of Child Fatality Review Committee in the state of Rhode Island?
Yes, as part of being chief medical examiner.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was that appointment?
Well, there's a big concern about infants who die and children who die. So those are reviewed specifically by a group of doctors from the pediatricians and also then the medical examiner's office. So we look at every child and infant death.
How long did you serve as the chief medical examiner in the state of Rhode Island?
For 12 years.
Starting when and ending when?
Starting in 1993 and ending in 2005.
As the chief medical examiner for Rhode Island, did you ever have the responsibility to work on any mass disaster cases?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that. If you could start with the Egypt Air issue.
Yes. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. In 1999, the Egypt Air 990 took off from New York airport, and it crashed off the coast of Massachusetts, and 2,065 passengers died. And because of the force of the airplane going into the water, all the bodies were fragmented. So all the fragments were brought to my medical examiner's office. They actually vacuumed the ocean floor, and we had 2,600 some fragmented remains from that airplane crash, and that involved working with FBI, TSA to identify those individuals and understand exactly why they died.
What was your role and the role of your staff that you supervised in dealing with those other government agencies, the FBI, the NTSA, other entities, in terms of the fatalities that you did review as a medical examiner, the chief medical examiner of Rhode Island?
Well, I dealt with families from around the globe who had relatives on that flight, and then the FBI was looking into what may have caused the crash. The Egyptian government, who owned the airplane, was also there and interested in understanding what happened. And we were also, tasked with identifying everybody who was on the plane and to see if that matched the passenger manifest list. So were there people on the plane who shouldn't have been on the plane? So that sort of thing.
In terms of matching.
To be fair, I think this lady was doing autopsies back when you could still smoke in the coroner's office.
Yeah, to be fair, she probably has had a pack of Virginia Slims in an ashtray.
Yeah. Oh God, you are so disgusting.
What's the female equivalent of teabagging called? A flappuccino.
Oh God.
Fair point. I'll give you that one, Brandon. I had never thought of it.
Ian, how do you unclog a dishwasher? Easy. Pull her tampon string. You are
Brandon, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you because your wife might end up on a Snapped episode, and I don't want to see you there, sweetie.
This means a lot coming from me. I think you need some Jesus.
Paula, does this lady saying she vacuumed the ocean remind you of having to mop the rain as a punishment? Having to mop the rain as a punishment. I'm guessing that meant to say Valhalla. I never had to do that. I've seen it done. I've never had to do it.
It was supposed to say Paula. Say
daggone text to speak.
I figured it out.
Could be formaldehyde. Who knows? There's got to be something.
Well, also, all the bodies she's come in contact, especially the airplane wreck, I mean, that's going to be jet fuel. There's going to be a lot of contaminants. I'm sure they weren't all that aware of a lot of the fumes and vapors and things that might have been toxic then. I don't know. Or she just smoked a lot.
You know who else needs some Jesus? The Jews. Thank you, Lesko. Thank you.
I think they RSVP'd no. I mean, we sent out an invitation, but they said, no, thank you. We don't want bacon. And we were like, okay, that's cool. We'll just hang out.
To be fair, wasn't Jesus a Jew?
Well,
I
yeah.
believe so.
That manifest, were you the head of the department
So you're
for
covered.
the medical examiner's office that was responsible for trying to figure out who was on the plane and match those remains with the individuals that were on the manifest?
Yes, we made the positive forensic identifications and returned the fragmented human remains to their families.
Doctor, did you also deal with the tragic station nightclub fire?
Yes.
In what capacity did you deal with that?
Again, this was a nightclub that burned down. It burned down very rapidly with a very hot fire, and that was in Rhode Island, and there were 100 fatalities from that. So those come to the medical examiner's office. I had my investigator at the scene throughout that time of recovering the bodies, and I was charged with determining the identity and the cause of death.
Were you successful, or your staff successful in determining the identity of most of those individuals who perished?
Yes, all of them. We worked around the clock for 3 days to get that done.
And you were the head of that task
was.
force. Before you became the chief medical examiner in Rhode Island, did you previously work as a medical examiner under somebody else?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was your first post as a assistant medical examiner?
My first post was after I did my fellowship training in St. Louis, Missouri. I was an assistant medical examiner for the city of St. Louis.
Were you ever an assistant medical examiner in Philadelphia?
Yeah, so after St. Louis, I moved to Philadelphia, where I was on staff at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, and I ran the autopsy service there at the hospital, and I was also an assistant medical examiner for the city of Philadelphia. After that, I was an assistant medical examiner for the state of Delaware, and then I came to Rhode Island as I was chosen to be chief.
Dr. LaPosada, can we
she's
put
boned.
dates on that? Assistant medical examiner in St. Louis from when to when? Do you remember?
Oh my, let's see. May I look at my CV?
Sure, with the court's permission.
Okay.
She's like a Bones. She's like Bones. She really is.
Yes, from 1983 to 85, I was an assistant medical examiner for the city of St. Louis. Then in 87 to 91, I was the assistant medical examiner for the city of Philadelphia. 91 to 93, assistant medical examiner for the state of Delaware. And then 1993 to 2005, I was chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island.
Thank you for that.
And thank you, Leslie, for the super sticker of it looks like a pear being Superman, but I'm not
A super pear.
100% sure. It's a super pear. I don't know what it is.
I feel represented. That pair has birthing hips.
You can definitely see why Bev would keep her limited. She's clearly not qualified to be anywhere near a witness stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like
Ridiculous.
Bev.
I will say it's the same sort of issue with her and Dr. Russell, is that she is going to make little verbal slips, and that's what Hank's going to go on. And I wish she sounded just a bit more confident, so that, like Dr. Russell did, like, she busted him right back. I don't know if we're going to get that sort of feistiness from this doctor.
Yeah.
Fair point. How does she do autopsies?
91 to 93, assistant medical examiner for the state of Delaware. And then 1993 to 2005, I was chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island.
Thank you for that. Dr. LaPosada, have you held any faculty positions as in the field of forensic pathology that qualify you as an expert in this case?
Yes, every medical examiner's office I worked in, I also had faculty appointments to teach medical students and pathology residents. So I had faculty appointments at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, and in Rhode Island.
Let's talk about those one at a time. Describe your teaching responsibilities at Brown Medical School, if you wouldn't mind. And that, by the way, that's from 1994 to present, correct?
93 to, well, as a medical examiner, it was 1993 to 2005. And there I would teach the medical students. We had rotations through the medical examiner's office, and also the pathology residents would rotate through the medical examiner's office, where I would teach them how to do a medical legal autopsy, how to understand cause and manner of death, especially non-natural and
Yes,
traumatic
I recall
deaths.
that.
With regard to your teaching responsibilities specifically, are you still teaching?
I'm teaching in the cardiovascular section now, but since I'm not chief of the medical examiner's office, I obviously...
I think she needs the cardiovascular section. I'm not reading this whole thing, but we need 200 likes or I won't self-delete myself, I guess. It's lovely. Lovely. Wait, what happened?
Baker made a
Oh,
comment.
I
I was
see.
going to let him fill Valkyrie in on it, and I'm not telling her.
Yeah, really.
It'll be
Let me touch
Baker's
that one.
getting the stabulation.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you on the next trial.
Yeah.
With regard to your
you
teaching
make it.
responsibilities specifically, are you still teaching?
I'm teaching in the cardiovascular section now, but since I'm not chief of the medical examiner's office, I obviously don't have students rotating through there anymore.
Were you a lecturer in the role of medical examiner? Did you do a seminar in that regard at or associated with Brown University School of Medicine?
Yes.
Did you do some sort of a forensic pathology rotation for pathology residents from 1994 to 1995 in that capacity as well?
Yes, we would have the pathology residents who were at the hospital studying anatomic pathology come to the medical examiner's office so they could understand the discipline of forensic pathology.
What is cardiomyopathy?
Cardiomyopathy is a muscular disease of the muscles of the heart.
And what is myocarditis?
Inflammation of the heart muscle.
Did you ever teach or lecture on those issues?
Yes, I teach every year. I teach the second-year medical students about those heart diseases.
Have you ever taught anatomy and physiology
John
to
have
EMTs?
heart disease?
Yes.
Did he have what?
Did John have signs of heart disease?
No.
Okay, it just seemed like a really specific thing to ask her, so I was wondering if he was kind of laying sort of the foundation that she has, been able to detect certain sort of hard to find cardiac issues. Again, I think that the blow to the head unalived him, but I do wonder, what was the point in bringing that up unless that's her specialty now?
Well,
Maybe it's something to do with like the hypothermia stuff in there. I don't know.
Oh, he had clogged arteries?
Because if he has a bad heart and his body's already struggling with the sort of shock symptoms of hypothermia, it could be a contributor, but I don't think it could be the cause of. But I'm not a doctor.
Well, I think it just kind of, maybe it goes to show that, she has a specialty in that, so that's something that she considered.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. if sometimes things catch me when I'm listening to him, and I notice Jackson will kind of foreshadow where he's going to ask by putting these things sort of in the front.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong, Mel, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, is that something to do with something? But I wasn't sure.
Helped my neighbor hang a 75-inch TV he bought from a guy on the street. Turned it on, and it was the menu. Oh, God. Seriously? Thank you. 75% closed. That's redunculous.
Well, but this kind of leads me to, I was wondering why they picked her, and if she has a very big concentration in cardiac issues, she can definitely opine on that. And again, could be a contributor to maybe this wouldn't have, put him down. I don't know. I'm reading too much into a Monday.
Yeah. I don't know.
We're not. We were just fine. You're
In the EMT setting.
Yes.
And what about a class known as the 2-hour primer on forensic pathology?
I've taught a lot. I don't recall that particular.
How about pathology residents morning conference in 2009?
Oh, yes. I give lectures to the pathology residents at the medical school at Brown Medical School in forensic pathology.
You also mentioned that you were an adjunct professor for biomedical forensic sciences and forensic anthropology in the Department of Anatomy and Neurology. Is that a division of the graduate school, Boston University School of Medicine?
Yes, I taught in the master's program in the medical school at Boston University School of Medicine for a master's in forensic science, where I taught a 40-hour course on forensic pathology and another 40-hour course on medical legal death investigation.
Were you actually the course director in that position?
Yes.
And were you also a course director in medical legal death investigation from 2006 to 2013?
Yes.
And what about a course director in forensic toxicology from 2006 to 2012?
Correct.
Did you direct the studies in biomedical forensic sciences, GMS, from 2012 to present?
Yes.
Describe that. What is that?
The graduate medical sciences?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I would review and be on the board to examine projects that the students were doing to get a master's degree.
Were you also an assistant professor in the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine at University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine?
Yes.
Without going into every single class that you taught, did you teach from 1987 to 1991, attending staff medical pathology?
Yes.
What is that? Just a general outline of what that teaching course was.
That's when I was at the hospital, University of Pennsylvania. I ran the autopsy service, so I taught medical students and pathology residents about autopsy practice.
I want to ask you sort of broadly, can you describe your major teaching and clinical responsibilities when you were at University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine in the field of forensic pathology? What were your main clinical and teaching positions?
Well, I ran the autopsy service there, so I taught the medical residents and medical students autopsy pathology, and I was also a assistant medical examiner there, so I taught and started the forensic fellowship in forensic pathology.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert witness in forensic and anatomic pathology in state and federal courts?
Yes.
How many times would you say you've qualified as an expert?
Over 40 years, maybe several hundred.
How about in Massachusetts?
That includes all of them.
Okay. Have you ever qualified? Let me list a couple of states. In Massachusetts?
Yes.
California?
Yes.
Connecticut?
Yes.
Delaware?
Yes.
Florida?
Yes.
Illinois?
Yes.
Maryland?
Yes.
Minnesota?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
New York?
Yes.
Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Jesus.
Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, yes.
Have I left anything out? That's
Did
just
you
about
say
all.
Massachusetts?
I did.
Okay, then
We
you're
started
fine.
with Massachusetts.
Okay, you're fine.
What types of topics have you qualified to testify about as an expert forensic and anatomic pathologist?
Really, anything that has to do with circumstances and cause of death. So it doesn't really matter, like, what type of injury or a sudden unexpected death. Usually it involves examination, study of information from the scene, information from the autopsy, police and investigation and medical records, and we put that all together and figure out the circumstances as to how someone died and why their body stopped functioning. So that's the basis of forensic pathology.
Dr. Williams, excuse me for just a second. You want to make the approach for 1 week?
Did he say, can we approach for 1 week? That's funny. Ignoring my vices. I don't know if I really want to bring this one up, but I'll bring it up, and I'm just not going to read that because I'm not really sure what the. Thank you.
Brendan needs to be doing Oppo research for the Commonwealth. He's finding out all the down low.
I don't know. Fine.
So I do wonder if, again, I think that her going through her her foundation and her background here, I think there is really going to be a problem with her being excluded from dog bites, especially with the amount of cases. Again, being published doesn't mean jack squat. Other than, you found a publication. Here lately, academic publications are publishing anything if you have a certain leaning to it. So being published is not a big, like, the end all be all. Again,
Yeah.
I think, what wasn't Dr. Judd, what's his face? Didn't he publish something in the Hindi Journal of Scientology or something?
I don't know. But
This woman is insanely qualified.
she's qualified, but there's no going back to it now.
Well, yeah, it's so dumb.
You can be up for 2 minutes. Dr. Lopez, I'm
Yes.
going to ask you to step down and you can go back to the court officer in that back room.
Certainly.
Oh, my lord.
Hi,
I think
Jerry.
they might be.
Downstairs and back up the
I think they
stairs
might
to
be
back
moving
up.
to re-qualify
We're
her.
gonna sit here, you all can sit
I
down.
would.
It's gonna be a recess for 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, and I think that, as much as we're joking about her breathing, I would be very anxious on the stand. So
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking.
They went to a sidebar, Jess, and then she just kicked the jury out. I think they're going to move to re-qualify her.
You can have a seat.
Now Bev's out of breath? Who's breathing?
No,
What
that's
is
still
happening?
the doctor.
Always bad.
It's like when Fry got on the mic.
Dr. Lamasada, you mentioned several times about which you testified and qualified as an expert. Testified as an expert in several different states, several different courtrooms. Have you been qualified as an expert by those courts in those topics about which you just discussed?
Yes.
Do you hold any specialty certifications in the field of forensic pathology?
Well, I'm board certified in forensic pathology.
What about the American Board of Pathology?
Yes, the American Board of Pathology
You know what I think he was doing?
examinations that are a 2-day examination.
I think that was so long and drawn out because he was biding time so they could get the proper qualifications to re-challenge. I think that whole CV was so long and unnecessary because he was waiting to get the right paperwork back or whatever.
Well, yeah, because I didn't quite understand the addition of, again, they're very sad and tragic cases, and I'm not trying to make light of them, but the airplane crash and the club fire, I understand they're bigger cases, but it didn't quite make sense as to why we put those in there other than, we have some filler and it shows that she has an extensive knowledge of different kinds of things, even things that are a bit crazy, like, a plane crash. Although her casually saying, like, we handed back fragments to the family gave me Dexter-ish vibes. I was like...
Yeah. Is she talking to the jury right now? Because the jury's not there, right?
The jury's not in. She kicked the jury out.
So she's talking to the camera guy, maybe?
In the various disciplines of pathology. And if you successfully complete those examinations, then you become a diplomat of the American Board of Pathology in whichever subspecialty you're in. And I became a diplomat in the subspecialty of anatomic and forensic pathology.
What about a certification in basic bloodstain pattern analysis, the International Association of Identification?
Yes, I had a week-long course in understanding blood pattern analysis.
Can you tell us a little bit about the National Registry Emergency Medical Technician certification that you hold?
Yes, I took training to become an EMT.
Have you received a number of honors and awards in the field of forensic pathology?
I have.
That'd give her firsthand experience.
What do those awards include?
May I look at my CV again? Sure. Thank you. I've had teaching awards from Brown University School of Medicine. I was featured in a book by Faces of Public Health as having run a good medical examiner's office. I was nominated for Woman of the Year in Rhode Island for my work as chief medical examiner in improving the office and handling those 2 mass disasters. I was honored by Victims' Rights and Services Awards because I've always been aware of the fact that as a forensic pathologist, I am the last doctor this person is going to have, so I try to help the family understand what happened. I was honored for my work in the mass disaster in Egypt Air 990 plane crash. Let's see. I was Outstanding Woman in Public Service for Providence, Rhode Island. I've gotten teaching awards from Brown University School of Medicine. I was elected to the Board of Trustees in the Delaware SIDS Foundation and the Philadelphia SIDS Foundation.
How is she
and then
not
we're back to my medical school.
If you could pull the microphone a little closer to your chin.
It's very hard because the chair doesn't push it in.
Oh, the chair doesn't move. Okay.
Oh, I got it. I moved.
We'll make do.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Lapasada. What is the American Academy of Forensic Sciences?
It's so stupid.
That's one of our medical associations that is specific to forensic sciences.
Have you ever held a chaired position there?
Yes.
What position was that?
I was voted into a fellowship position.
Were you the chairman of Forensic Science Research, the Forensic Science Research Committee?
Yes.
What's the National Association of Medical Examiners?
It's also called NAME. It's another international association of forensic pathologists.
Were you a member of that organization?
Yes.
And at some point, did you get elected to the board of directors for that organization?
Yes.
And ultimately, did you become a fellow for that organization?
I did.
What is the American Society of Clinical Pathologists?
That's a society that is for people who practice anatomic pathology and understand how to interpret laboratory results and biopsies.
Did you become a fellow in 1991 until present for that organization?
Yes.
What's the difference between a member and a fellow?
A member is a lower level, and then you can be promoted to fellow if the board of directors feels that you've contributed in your field.
And were you associated with the College of American Pathologists?
Yes.
Were you a fellow there as well?
Also
Yes.
beatified?
What about the World Association for Medical Law?
Yes.
What about the American
I was
Association
proud
for
of
Clinical
myself for
Chemistry?
putting on a bra
Yes, I'm a
this
member.
morning.
Rhode Island Medical Women's Association, what is that?
Well, it's basically what it says. It's women doctors in Rhode Island.
Were you elected to the board of directors for that organization?
Yes,
Ultimately, were you,
Yeah, there's
were
only
you
like
elected as the
4.
president of that organization?
I was.
Rhode Island
She
Medical
was the
Society, what is
president
that?
and a client.
It's an organization of doctors.
What?
You know those old Just for Men? I'm not only the president of Just for Men, I'm a client, and it was the really bad hair plugs.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
This
what it
woman-
always reminds me of. But honest to goodness, I mean, what else did she do? Compete in a circus and a marathon and save a, burning bus with orphans?
She does not juggle. Disqualified.
Who practice
Did she
in
paint
Rhode Island.
herself blue?
Are you a council member there?
Yes,
And what about the Massachusetts Medical Legal Society?
yes, I was a member there. They have disbanded since.
It doesn't exist anymore?
No,
When it was up and running, you were a member in good standing?
yes,
Good, good. Pennsylvania Association of Pathologists, what about that?
yes. When I practiced in Pennsylvania, I was a member of that organization.
Did you, in addition to be a member there, did you also hold a chaired position? Were you the chairman for the Committee on Forensic Pathology?
Yes,
Have you served on any editorial boards of any scholarly journals or
Yes.
publications? Tell me
Yes.
about that.
I've reviewed articles submitted for the Journal of Forensic Sciences and the National Association of Medical Examiner Journals.
Did you also hold an editorial position for the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology?
Yes,
Is that one of the medical journals that is used throughout the country by other medical professionals, other medical examiners?
yes,
It's a resource
yes,
and a text?
correct.
Have you authored any peer-reviewed publications in the field of forensic pathology?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us about some of those publications?
Let's see if I can here. Yeah, I've written chapters in textbooks about medical legal death investigation and forensic pathology. I've published articles involving alcohol metabolism, some drugs, cocaine. Let's see. Alcohol metabolism in the heart, I mentioned. Let's see. And so I published.
The hell was that?
They mentioned rocks, and I thought it was funny. I was waking up a little bit. I got the afternoon struggle session happening.
Yeah, I hear you. The jury is there. Yeah, I thought so, but they just had a thing pop up say outside the presence of the jury, so I'm so confused. But she keeps looking
I
at
thought
the
she
jury.
kicked him out. I thought she
I
kicked
don't
him
know.
out. I'm
Said
90%
outside the
positive she
presence of
asked
the
them to
jury.
leave.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, and she asked him to leave.
Can we baconate a little bit? Because I'm almost positive they went out, but I
I
could
don't
be
think the
very
jury's
wrong.
in right now.
Because I thought they sent them right out, but I could.
Hold on.
They do the sidebar and then stops, and then she kicks him out, and then it's just her again. But I don't think they told us what they're doing. I'm pretty sure they're moving to get her requalified, though.
And jurors, rather than send you downstairs and back up the stairs to come back in 5 minutes, I'm gonna sit here, you all can sit here, we're just gonna be in recess for 5 minutes.
Wait a minute. She's having them do this in front of the. Does professionalism even mean anything?
I'm confused.
What did she
She was
say?
going to leave just now, right? She said 5
Yeah.
minutes. And then it says outside the presence of the jury.
You can have a seat.
And then they're back.
What in the Walmart rapture is going on today?
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Alcasada, you mentioned several topics about which you testified and qualified as an expert. Have you been Do you hold any specialty certifications in
Never came back.
Alcohol metabolism in the heart, I mentioned.
is deemed undetermined?
When the manner of death is undetermined, that means at the time the death certificate was signed, there was not enough information to put it into either accident, natural suicide, or homicide. So at the time the death certificate was signed, there was not enough information to put it into one of those other categories. It doesn't mean that if more investigation takes place, then you might be able to put it in one of those other categories.
If a manner of death is deemed at a particular time undetermined, at that time, it's because it lacks sufficient additional information. Is that correct? What types of information does a medical examiner, forensic pathologist consider in making these determinations between natural accident, homicide, suicide, undetermined?
Well, first you have the findings from the examination of the body. So that's sort of a starting place to see what happened to the body. Then you need to also look at the scene investigation. You need to look at any police reports and witness statements, and also medical history of the deceased. And using those 4 sources of information, and using your training and experience, you can either say this is a natural death, this is a self-inflicted death, it's a suicide, it's an accidental death, it's a homicide, or if all of that information doesn't allow you to put to a reasonable degree of medical certainty into any one of those categories, then you have to leave the manner undetermined. And if more information becomes available later, then you can change that death certificate.
What if no more information comes available later?
It just stays as undetermined. There are cases where there's just not enough information to put it in one of those other categories.
Because they didn't do an investigation.
Without getting into what they may be, did you reach any opinions and conclusions in connection with this case?
Yes.
What materials and information did you consider in reaching your opinions and conclusions in this particular?
All right, Brandon. What's the difference between a joke and 3 roosters? You can't take a joke. I hope that means you, general, not you, personal, but thank you. I still, I don't know. I feel like there was an objection. Jury's probably there.
Particular case.
I'm confused.
I have my list of materials I reviewed. I reviewed
thank you.
Mr. O'Keefe's autopsy report, the report of the examination of his brain, the toxicology report, and the entire medical examiner file. I studied 100 and some autopsy photos, including photographs of the brain, and then there were 70 other photographs at autopsy taken by a state trooper who was at the examination. I reviewed Mr. O'Keefe's medical records from Good Samaritan Medical Center and the EMS run sheet. I reviewed photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's clothes that were taken at the crime lab. I reviewed photographs of pieces of tail light, hard plastic, clear, black, red. I reviewed photographs of the outside of Karen Reed's SUV. I reviewed the Canton Police Department incident report on the death. I reviewed 100 and some photographs taken by Canton Police of the outside of the house at 34 Fairview Road in Canton. I reviewed some photographs taken by the real estate agent who was going to sell the house of the inside.
In total, putting them in categories, did you review the forensic autopsy?
Yes.
Did you review all of the files associated with the medical examiner's office in this particular case related to the autopsy of John O'Keefe?
Yes.
Did you review the scene investigation through police reports and other things?
Yes.
Photographs as well?
Yes.
Did you review the police reports that were associated with the initial investigation in this case as well as follow-ups?
Yes.
Did you review witness statements and things of that sort?
Yes, if they were included in the police report.
That was my next question. Those witness statements would be included in the police reports that you otherwise reviewed, correct?
Yes.
What about Mr. O'Keefe's medical history as much as you had of it?
Yes, I reviewed his medical history.
And what about hospital records?
His medical history was in the hospital records.
Understood. What method did you use or methodology did you use in forming the opinion that we'll get to in just a few minutes?
Well, in order to arrive at a conclusion of how somebody dies and what the cause of death is, we have to put all our facts out, and then we say, how could these facts have come to be? So it's called like a differential diagnosis. So like if you go to your doctor and you have a white blood cell count, then the doctor would say, well, how many ways do you get this white blood cell count? So that's a differential diagnosis, and then you go from that list and pare it down by getting more data till you come to one final diagnosis. So that's the process of determining how somebody dies and the circumstance around it.
Is it fair to say that you have a pretty significant background, training, and experience regarding coming to the conclusion of cause and manner of death?
40 plus years.
And how many autopsies in total?
Well, myself, I've probably done over 3,000, and then I have observed and reviewed maybe 7,000 more.
So that's in total over 10,000 autopsies, if you would estimate, over 40 years?
Probably.
In addition to just autopsies, how many death investigations, separate and apart from autopsies, have you been involved with?
Well, the autopsy usually has a corresponding death investigation with it.
Do you have experience in examining and identifying wounds, not necessarily the cause and manner of death, but wounds that are associated with someone on whom you're performing an autopsy or you're supervising an autopsy?
Yeah, so looking at the injuries on the body and understanding what caused them is a huge part of forensic pathology.
Have you ever conducted or overseen any autopsies of individuals involved in vehicle-pedestrian collisions?
Yes.
How many times, if you had to estimate?
No, hundreds.
100 or hundreds?
Hundreds.
When was it that you first started training on the issue of wound pattern recognition that helps assist you with coming to your conclusions, whether it be auto pedestrian incidents or otherwise?
Yeah, well, understanding wound patterns and injuries is a big part of forensic pathology because we want to identify what caused a particular pattern. So understanding that whole complex bag of injuries begins when you start your forensic pathology training, which was when I started back in '81.
In addition to the cause of death, which might be whatever, a gunshot, something, does the pathologist also undertake an examination of the rest of the body that's not so obvious, other wounds, etc., that might tell a more defined story?
Yes, we look at the entire body, we look at the clothing, we look at the outside of the body, then we do the internal examination in order to understand not only why the body stopped functioning, which is the cause of death, but also things that could have contributed to it or helped to understand the circumstances around how that death occurred.
When you say the body, you mentioned the clothing. Why is the clothing important? Is that part of the body for a forensic medical examiner?
Oh, yes, it is. You always have to look at the clothing because it has materials on it that may be important as to how injuries occurred. So it's every time you do an autopsy, you have to always make sure you have the clothing. Many times it would have been taken off at the hospital, but then I would always ask my staff, tell the police, we've got to get the clothes, have to look at the clothes.
What is a gross examination?
A gross examination is not actually like gross, grotesque, but it means like without microscopes. It means just looking with your naked eye.
Is it important to look at a body,
thought gross.
a deceased person, when you're conducting an autopsy from head to toe for outside obvious wounds that you can see on the gross anatomy outside?
Oh, yes, and also to collect any trace evidence that may be present on the body.
Are forensic medical examiners trained to do that?
Oh, yes.
Are you trained to do that?
Absolutely.
In addition to a gross examination on the outside of the body, is it also important to look on the inside of the body?
Yes.
Are there wounds and injuries that might be hidden by the dermis, for instance, the skin, that might not be so obvious on a gross examination of a body?
Yes, you have to look inside the body.
And what's the mechanism of doing that?
Excuse me. We make surgical incisions in the body so we can examine the brain, the neck, all the organs in the chest, all the organs in the abdomen, and depending on the case, we may make incisions in the arms and legs to look for evidence of injuries.
What about x-rays? Are x-rays an important part of an examination in an autopsy?
Yes, they're usually done before the autopsy is started, and we look for changes in the bones or any foreign material that might be present in the body, like a bullet.
Dr. LaPosada, have you ever exercised wound pattern recognition in your position as a forensic pathologist? Or do you do it every time?
All the time.
Have you ever taught any courses or given lectures on wound identification and wound pattern recognition?
Yes, it's part of understanding blunt force trauma, sharp force trauma, gunshot wounds. They all make injury patterns on the body that the pathologist can then relate to what caused that injury.
With regard to the case that's before us, what injuries did you observe with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's head specifically?
I observed that he had evidence of blunt force trauma to the back of his head.
Are those injuries consistent with a particular type or patterned injury?
Yes.
Describe that for us, please.
There in the back of his head, a little bit to the right-hand side, was a horizontal tearing of the scalp, and that's called a laceration. And surrounding that were linear scrapes that were vertical in orientation. So that is an injury pattern. And then you have to think, well, what could cause that injury pattern? And so then you go from there.
Did you also, in addition to looking at, by the way, how did you make that assessment about the injury? Was it photographs?
Yes.
Is that a normal way for forensic pathologists to make an assessment? Is that an acceptable methodology to make an assessment of a wound pattern by the use of anatomical photographs?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you done it before?
Oh, hundreds of times.
What is a coup, contra coup injury?
Oh, it's a very interesting, peculiar injury to the head. When you have a blow to the head, the blow can either be the stationary head and there's a blow to it, or you can have the head that's moving and gets the blow. So looking at a pattern of coup contra coup helps the forensic pathologist differentiate that. A coup contra coup injury examines the coup, which is where the impact occurred, and then we look at what's 180 degrees opposite that impact, and that's called the contra coup, or like opposite the coup. And that injury pattern helps us determine whether a person was just having a fixed head and somebody hit it, or whether the head was just standing and went down to the ground.
Kelly, did you thank you for the one gifted membership on Baker's channel, and it went, or wait, was it Baker's channel? Yes.
Yeah.
And it went to Zach.
Congratulations, Zach.
Yeah, who is not even in Baker's chat. Lucky duck.
The coup contra coup of a falling or being pushed backward has injury patterns where the impact occurred, but then there's also injury patterns 180 degrees opposite from that. And that happens because the brain is floating in cerebral spinal fluid, and when the head comes down, the brain is a little bit behind, so you get the bang on the back of the head, but then because the brain is floating, it hits the inside of the opposite side of the head. And so that makes the contra coup pattern, and that tells us that there's been a fall backwards and hitting the head.
Is that consistent, a coup contra, just in general, a coup contra coup injury, consistent with a linear acceleration of the head by a fall, an unbroken fall straight back?
Correct. There's also some angular force in that as well.
Understood. In order to determine whether or not Mr. O'Keefe suffered from a coup contra coup injury, can that be done by a gross examination, or does it have to be surgical?
We would look at, well, first we look at the outside, but then we have to look at injuries to the scalp, and we look at the skull, see where the skull fractures are, and in particular to look at the brain and see where the damage is to the brain. And there should, in a fall backwards, you have damage to the brain at the site of impact, but you also have damage to the brain 180 degrees opposite from that, and that tells you it's a fall backwards.
In the case before us, dealing with John O'Keefe, were you able to look at the scalp and the injuries associated with the scalp from a gross perspective?
Yes.
Were you also able to look at the skull and possible fractures that Mr. O'Keefe suffered on his skull?
Yes.
And what about the brain? Did you have evidence of a dissection such that you could see the brain and determine whether or not there was a coup contra coup injury associated with the brain?
Yes, I had a full examination of the brain available.
Were Mr. O'Keefe's head injuries consistent with a coup contra coup injury?
Yes.
Could you describe that, specifically his head injuries, to the jurors, please?
Well, as we say, he has a pattern head injury on the back of his scalp, where there is a tearing of the scalp, and then vertically above that, there is some little areas of scraping to the skin. So that tells me that Mr. O'Keefe went backwards onto something that had a little ridge, but it also had some irregularity to it to cause the different scrapes before you get to the tearing of the scalp. Then when we look at the skull, he had massive skull fractures that started in the back of his head. They came around to the front. They went under the base of his brain, under the skull, under the base of the brain, and it came into the front of the skull at the orbital plates and fractured that, and that caused some bleeding in his upper eyelids. When the brain was examined inside the brain, I could see that the brain had become swollen and parts of it had herniated or moved down the area where the spinal cord is, and that's called brainstem herniation. And that
Her gestures are getting to me. thank you for another gifted membership, and that went to Nina Ray.
Well,
Thank
what I
you.
also think she's going to get to with this sort of testimony is the defense told us that basically once John received this blow to the head, he was no longer able to do anything. So, again, with the state's case being that he got hit and then still turned off his phone, I think this might be leading to he was instantly incapacitated.
Does she only have 4 fingers?
Ew.
Or is it just paused funny?
I love our ADHD is like, oh, I think she.
Oh, she's got them all. She's got them all. I think she's got them all. Whew.
I don't know. Now I think she's a turtle.
Wait, I don't.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, we got them all.
There's the pinky.
Oh, Jesus Christ, lady. Almost had a heart attack.
Like, that's why she operates on dead people.
I'm telling you, they don't talk back. That would be my job if I were a medicologist.
That is why the brain stops functioning and why your body stops functioning when you have a severe head injury.
You indicated that the wound pattern suggested a ridge or ledged surface.
Yes.
Could you explain that in more detail, please?
Yes. So if I were looking at it, I would see the break in the scalp. Then I would see several sort of irregularly placed scrapes of the skin that kind of look like pencil marks. And so that means that something with granularity he hit first, then it moved up a little, broke the scalp, and then moved on a little bit above that.
Would you expect to see that if Mr. O'Keefe had fallen backward onto a perfectly flat surface?
No, it has to be a surface that has some small ridges in it to make those little vertical patterns.
Dr. LaPosada, what is ecchymosis?
Ecchymosis is a medical term.
So I think the problem with this, and this is, I try to see all the arguments that the state is going to come up with. He could have hit his head on the berm. Now, how the hell he got to the fat flagpole, I have no freaking clue. But I do think either that or Hank is going to bring up the spoiler. And then this woman is going to look at him like he has gone full Tropic Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was
I would like to do that.
Did you see any ecchymosis on Mr. O'Keefe that he suffered as a result of the coup contra coup injury to the back of his head?
He had a bruise on his brain at the back of the brain and at the front of the brain.
What would the outer, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
What would you see around his eyes regarding ecchymosis?
Yes, when you have, when the brain it slaps forcefully against the base of the skull, the delicate bones above the eye break, and that's again the coup contra coup where the brain slaps forward. And when those delicate bones are broken, there's bleeding, and that bleeding then goes right down into the upper eyelids. So it kind of looks like you have black eyes, but there's not been any punch to the face. It's only come from the skull fracture. That's sometimes called raccoon eyes because you look like a little raccoon.
Did you see any skin injury to either one of Mr. O'Keefe's upper eyelids?
Yes, he had a small kind of slit-like defect horizontal on his right upper eyelid.
Would the ecchymosis on its own produce that type of injury, that laceration over his right eye?
No, the blood seeping down into his upper eyelids was from the skull fractures.
Was the laceration above his eyelid on the right side a separate injury altogether?
Yes, it was.
Based on your training experience, do you have an opinion as to whether or not what that eyelid laceration might be consistent with?
Some application of force which broke the skin.
Could that be from an object?
Possible.
Could it be from a fist?
Possible.
Sustained us to the floor, Mr. Jackson.
Give me some possibilities of what might cause that laceration above his right eyelid.
So it's not possibilities.
Give me, in your opinion, what you believe could have caused or produced the injury to the upper right eyelid.
So I'm going to see its sidebar here.
Oh, Chia Blitz
Ma'am.
and ham hocks.
This is when he's going to start objecting, though, when she starts giving reasons.
But Brennan said it was from the spoiler of, or Welcher, the spoiler of the car. So how realistic is
Not
that?
sure. Thank you for gifting a membership. And that went to Mad Mom. And congratulations. Welcome to the Church of Mo. We have true crimes, sarcasm, and dark chocolate. And sometimes I wear wigs and heifer horns because this man has pushed me to the edge. I cannot tell you how annoying he is when you've had a vacation from him and you come back and you realize he's still a see you next Tuesday.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Laposada, you just mentioned that the laceration above the right eyelid was consistent with the application of force, correct?
Correct.
You said it could come from some object, is that right?
Correct. It was fairly small. Could be it's some sort of object.
Is it also consistent with a fist?
Sure, a fist is an object.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I hate to do this again. May we approach? This is probably a good time. We talk about it at sidebar.
Thank you,
Can you
not
go ahead
sure.
and fill up the
And
jury's time for the next 2
congratulations
minutes
goes
and
to
then-
Zach.
Not without what we discussed at sidebar.
Zach's having a good day.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
We're not gonna-
More
minute,
goat herders and
We'll give you
fluffy.
one up quickly.
What the heck
And then
is
not sure
happening?
sent another one because he couldn't let it just be Zach. That'd be terrible. Congrats to Lori Lewis, Montana. Lori loves Montana. I need glasses. Thank you. Not
Told
sure.
you we're
Appreciate
still
you.
on track. We will start. I'm gonna have you show up a half hour later than we normally do because I expect to have 10 minutes with the lawyers, but we see sometimes with 10 minutes naturally in the course of any case and turn into. So I don't want you to be waiting as much as you waited today. So if you take a half an hour more to get in here, whatever time you normally meet, the court officers will tell you. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be a full day and we will make every effort that it's filled with as much time here in court for you without sidebar conferences, without delays for us to have hearings. So tomorrow, plan on a full day. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. Be careful again with your social media use. So Dr. Laposada,
Yes.
you can step right up, you just follow the jury, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Here, make sure you're ready to go at 9.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so can you argue the Commonwealth's motion that I received this morning regarding Dr. Renshaw? Can we just do that now? Okay. No, that's fine. So we'll do that first thing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The basis of the Commonwealth's, I've read the motion. I think the motion is clear. I'll hear you both tomorrow on it. All right. And you'll take care of the photographs, whatever photographs in her report you intend to put in.
Is the court hasn't made word yet, but it seemed like the court was leaning toward not allowing the text on the photographs.
So that was just a quick review. I just read the content, the text part for the arguments for today, the arguments that were brought up today.
Mo.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, NC, for the gifted membership. And it went to Bad Idea Bear. Oh my God, I'm saying idea. Damn it, Brennan. Flippin' flapjack hate
I wasn't
you.
anticipating everything that we heard today on this, so it took a while. I did not get to look at specifically those. But to the extent that it's hearsay, whether it considers anything about dogs, clearly the dog, things that have been excluded have to come out of the photographs. All right.
The other photos deal with gastric mucosa.
I think those have been shown, and I know the Wisniewski spots one is in evidence. The brain photographs are not coming in. The brain photographs that are different than what's already, the brain photographs in her report.
Understood.
They're-
The stomach lining is a bigger issue, and then some photographs in these letters, like the car is probably already in, things of that nature.
So tell me what you think is more of an issue, more of what you want. So I don't think the photographs on pages 4
Ew, stop looking at
or
your
5
fingers.
come in. They don't add anything, and they are extremely inflammatory.
I'm not looking to enter the, I'm not looking to get those.
All right, the photos on page 6, I believe, are already in evidence. So this is,
That's what this machine.
right? Just a textbook photo of a Lucas machine?
Correct.
Is there an objection to that, Mr. Brennan?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
So do you
but
want
this
all of
isn't
that in,
fair
or just
because
the
Rentschler
photograph
got to
that's got
show
color to it?
I'd actually like
a
all
degloved
of it.
guy.
She will explain what effect it has on increase in stomach lining, send it to the reduced response for lack thereof.
Okay.
Page 14, I think these are all in evidence otherwise, but I would like this particular, it's all in one spot.
Hold on one second. Okay, so one is in. Point number one, that was in evidence, and those two photographs, this is all for number one. What was,
These are all close-ups of the same photo that is already in evidence.
Okay.
The right sleeve. So I'd like to use this because it speaks to her evaluation of these particular,
all right, how does she know it's blood staining on the fabric around the puncture? I'm just curious.
the blood stain on fabric around puncture.
Yes.
I'm assuming she's getting that from the lab. They tested.
Okay, I don't recall testimony regarding, doesn't mean it didn't happen, I just don't recall it, so I just need to know the source, all right?
Pull that out.
No objections to photos, you do have an objection. Yeah.
Okay. 13A and 13B?
Yes.
Yep, so 13B's out because of the dog bite. Let me see. All right. So if we keep out the blood staining, Mr. Brennan, is there an objection? Oh, puncture. What's the objection for the Commonwealth on 13A?
The opinion outward tearing, the opinion blood staining.
I have no issue with blood stain coming out, outward tearing, that is her opinion of what it looks like.
Okay, so we're going to have to see if she's qualified to do that, to testify to that.
She
All
took
right.
a 3-day test.
What's the next page?
What is going on?
This is
Figure 3 in the report.
What page?
I don't have page number. Hold it up.
Page 5.
Page 5. It shows the cross-section.
because Bev's in charge of calling it.
That's what I was saying. I didn't see how that was coming in.
I certainly don't want the one in that is highly graphic. This is no more graphic than the second one.
I disagree, but why does she have to use this photograph?
It furthers her determination of the true injury and supports that. I didn't put it in during that conversation.
Okay.
But
There's no contention that coup contra coup is the cause of the brain injury, correct?
there is a contention that the coup contra coup was, yes, that is the contention. I don't think there's any controversy. That's what the.
I thought that's what Dr. Wolf testified to, no?
Consistent, I don't think there's any disagreement.
Right. So I don't know why we need this photograph.
Because this shows, at least for her, this shows a bleeding of the brainstem, which talks about whether or not he's immediately incapacitated or not immediately incapacitated. which
Okay.
is an issue that Dr.
No, I understand that's an issue. Okay.
Yes, that's a very big issue. That is in fact one of the pivotal issues of this stupid case, you freaking reject judge. Doggone it.
What else,
I'm
Mr.
trying to be
Jackson?
better.
I think you've seen this, Your Honor, and I'm looking at figure 5. So the use spots.
Yeah, I think that's already in evidence, isn't it?
It is, but not the. Mr. Leslie's saying it's only a chunk of this one, so.
I recall it was up, and I usually don't put up chalks, but okay. Excuse me?
Mr. Lessie. Can you say it again? Thanks.
There's only one person who can talk at a time. I'm told it's Exhibit 164.
Yes, Your Honor, my understanding is it's marked as an exhibit only. It was used as a chart, not in evidence.
Okay, so if it's marked as an exhibit, it means it's in evidence.
Sorry, marked for identification.
I'm told I think it's an exhibit. We can find out. If it's an exhibit, everybody's fine with it. It's in. 164, I think. We'll know. Okay, what are those? All right, so we'll have to see what's in and what's not. I'm just trying to make the best use of the time here.
The next is figure 9. Just send it to these two photographs. That's in the machine.
So you're saying 9 in evidence or 9 on the form? 9A and B. Is there an objection to these, Mr. Brennan? Going to the Lucas compression device? There's one on someone who's not John O'Keefe, and then this is on Mr. O'Keefe.
No objection.
Okay, so those will come in?
That's it.
Okay. All right. How much longer, and I'm not curbing you in any way, how much longer do you think? It seems like after the very lengthy qualifications, we're now moving along quicker with Dr. Lapasada.
I would guess I probably I'm going to finish under an hour.
Okay. Any idea, Mr. Brennan?
I guess it'll probably be about a half hour.
Okay. So we should finish with Dr. Lapasada's testimony either by the morning break or shortly thereafter. So we'll discuss Dr. Rentschler's testimony, the objections to it. Why don't you just tell me briefly, Mr. Brennan, what the objections are?
There are a number of slides that attempt to frame what the contested issues are in the case to improper opinions, it assumes facts, not evidence, and it properly summarizes the Commonwealth position. There are a number of slides that provide credibility determinations about Dr. Welcher, and there are a number of slides that summarize opinions by this expert. So the improper summaries, the credibility determinations, trying to frame issues for the jury, none of that should be admissible as part of the PowerPoint. So we've articulated each slide and what our objections are to each slide that we have any objections. There's quite a few.
All right, so I'll look through that tonight, but the same restrictions will be, you don't criticize the person, it's the data, what you saw, what you didn't see. So if it's different than that in the slides, it's going to have to come out.
Understood. I'll take a close look at it. I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, no, I understand. I haven't read it either.
If we're done.
Okay.
Do you do anything?
Documents that are attended to Dr. Lapasada's opinion and conclusions concerning the dog bites.
Okay, so,
I'd like to have those identified for the record.
yes.
Part of the record.
So we'll make that part of the record. I need a clean copy of Dr. Lapasada's report and her resume for the same purpose.
And the resume.
Yes.
I'll have those two by the way.
Okay.
Just finally, the redacted version of the 3430 post is not marked. Could I have that marked as an exhibit now?
Okay. There was no objection, Mr. Brennan?
This was never marked as an exhibit. That's all.
Why don't we do that right now?
Exhibit 224.
So I would like us to be as efficient for these jurors as possible tomorrow. I'm not suggesting that today was a waste of time. Everything we did was important, but it's very difficult for the jurors to spend so much time back there. It seems that they're just about ready to get this case, and everything that we hear now is very important. So I don't think anybody wants the jurors to tune out at this point. So let's try and keep things moving along. Mr. Jackson, how long do you expect to be with Dr. Rentschler?
Hour and a half. 2 hours. I'm being corrected. 3 hours. 4. She has a better pace than I do. I don't watch my watch run directly, but maybe it's going to be a whole thing. I'm between us and cross-examination.
All right. So I told you all the other day, I thought I might be in a position to regret giving you last Thursday off, and that's where we're at. So let's be as
Shocker.
efficient as we
Didn't
can
see this
possibly
coming.
be.
Promise you we are.
Who would have thunk half days
I
and
understand.
taking off would put you behind?
All right.
She's no Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, do you expect that Dr. Rentschler will be the last witness that you call?
That's my expectation.
Okay. On rebuttal, any idea how long that will be, Mr. Brennan?
I'd like to keep it to 2 hours.
Okay. All right, that would be for everything, including Dr.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Welcher?
Dr. Welcher, and then the DNA, all those witnesses. I think it should be done in less than an hour.
All right, so will Dr. Welcher be called after the DNA people?
Trying to schedule that. I expect to call him last minute. It all depends on when we can get the DNA people, and Dr. Welcher will be here tomorrow or tonight, so he'll be here. So whoever's, if they're available, let's get the DNA people in first. But we haven't had confirmation on the flight.
All right, because I told Mr. Lessy that he could excuse himself from this testimony if there were other witnesses first, so that he can prepare once he gets the discovery from Dr. Welcher.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could we understand from the Commonwealth the names of the rebuttal witnesses we're talking about?
They were in the motion, right?
Well, we heard some different things at some point. If something happened with Dr. Lapasada, they would be different. We heard that aside.
Okay, so the motion that I allowed was
good.
Ms. Kuhn. I believe Dr. Gillespie's name was in there,
Hartnett?
and Ms. Hartnett. Okay.
So that's the scope of Dr. Welcher, or the scope of the rebuttal witnesses for the Commonwealth.
Yes, I allowed the motion. Mr. Brennan says he's not calling Dr. Gillespie. Mr. Gillespie, right? Okay.
And nor Dr. Crosby.
Or Dr. Crosby. Right.
That's what I think there's.
Sorry, I know.
Well, it's important to know.
You're not calling their dog expert or your own, correct?
Not calling Dr. Crosby.
Okay.
The other item, Your Honor, we want to alert you to, we will come tomorrow with a suggestion with regard to the period of instruction that was given to the court today. We're going to come tomorrow with an ask to be heard on that. And we can order, So we're going to come into that. What happened, what was discussed before, I'm not so sure.
You asked me to change it, was my recollection, Mr. Lessie.
We looked at it at lunch, Your Honor. Appreciate the opportunity to confer with you on it. I didn't want to keep the staff later today.
And I don't want to keep the jury waiting, so file something with me and I'll take a look at it. All right. All right, so that's it. We expect to be ready to go when the jury's here tomorrow morning, probably no later than 9:15, 9:20, right?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, and we'll use a full day, as much of it as we can.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
All right.
She's terrible.
Yep.
She's so biased.
has-
It's insane.
She has been awful today. Just absolutely awful.
And thank you,
That's like,
JoJo,
we're
for the
wasting
super
their
chat.
time so much, and it's like you waste time because you don't make rulings. You are
No.
constantly dragging ass on everything.
Yeah, every
Well, she
motion essentially takes twice as long because she has to hear it and then she has to come back again later and move on it or whatever. Nothing's efficient in this court. She takes half days, she takes days off, and now
She hasn't
now
even
it's
read a
their fault.
motion. She's like, there's something that came in.
Now it's the defense's fault somehow.
Thank you, JoJo, for the super chat. Thank you, Marissa, for holding down the fort while Baker was becoming a redneck. And it sounds like he got back and is just heading back home now, or the last train home. So you get Baker back tomorrow. I will turn back over the keys, and he will have his channel back. We'll see how much he gets demonetized. Anyway.
Thank you, Marissa, for helping out.
Yes, thank you very much.
We couldn't have done it without you, and Jamie as well.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for joining me. It was a week and a day, but that was a lot. That was a lot today. I feel like
whole lot.
I need some heart meds. I'm all verklempt.
I need beer.
Yeah. It's not as easy as you would think it would be to keep the trial going, answer questions, and do all that. So you did a great job, because I know it's not your regular thing, and you just kind of took to it and were really good. So
yeah, it's not rocket science, but it's a lot for your brain.
it helps to have ADHD.
Yeah, I don't think I have that.
Oh, well, you'll probably catch it from us.
Is it contagious?
I think it's contagious. It might be.
Have you noticed we can't stay on topic? We infect. Yeah, pretty much.
I've noticed. But it's all good. I'm the same way. But anyway, I am going to get going because I need to go pick up my kiddo.
Outstanding.
Sounds good.
Chat, y'all rock. We'll see you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm sending you over to Goat Cam. So you can, whoo-sah, whoo-sah, and listen to baby goats scream. Because I will say that is the frequency of like a toddler scream sometimes when they're, squawking. And I'm like, where's the kid? Why is he in with goats?
Yeah, I agree.
Not a whole lot of little kids running around here. Doesn't happen often.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Yes, I did examine his lower extremities. That is protocol in any case of suspected impact with a motor vehicle. So I did examine his legs, and I did not see any evidence of an impact site.
Just pin it on the girl, right?